Duncan thinks that the Biden that fell off the bike yesterday was a fake
young
Biden.
Man, dude.
No.
You think it's a body double?
Did you see his body?
Pull it up.
Unless
Yeah.
Biden's got a nice bod.
Yeah, Biden has nice legs.
He has nice
Don't
legs.
hate. I think you're hating.
I couldn't have been happier to watch that guy fall off.
That's how high gas prices are.
I'll be honest.
He is the gift that keeps giving. If you're not a Biden fan,
I haven't seen it.
Joe Biden's former doctor refused to answer a single question about the ex-president's poor health. Wow, he seems like the perfect doctor to treat my secret warts. True. When asked about Biden's decline, he simply referred them to the coroner's report.
So, picture this. President Joe Biden steps up to the mic for a big speech, but somewhere between the podium and the teleprompter, he seems to lose track of where he is, who he's talking to, and, well, why he's even there. Cue Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld, two commentators who thrive on chaos like it's their favorite pre-workout. Within seconds, they're dissecting every slip, spinning confusion into comedy gold. Rogan's doubled over, barely catching his breath between laughs. Gutfeld? He's wielding a whiteboard like a weapon, sketching out theories mid-rant. What did Biden say this time? And how did it turn into this brilliantly bizarre spectacle?
and they have makeup. They can do things to people. They can make you look like Biden. They can
That
make
might
you,
have been Barron.
maybe not you,
No.
but like some people with
Barron.
not so long a face.
Yeah, Barron. Was he 6'8"?
They put Barron. Well, Barron would stand out. He'd be too tall.
Barron was
long
Biden.
face.
Yeah.
With a long face.
Mark
Biden,
Barron.
don't be depressed.
Don't be sour.
I know we're
man.
pulling you out,
I'll never forget.
but you were a great president. You were like Lincoln. Look at this. Look
Yeah.
at tall Biden. Look at the size of him.
Whoa.
Bro, look at the size of him. He doesn't look anything like Biden.
Shane, we were there.
Look how tall he is.
We were right
He's
there. And the
Towering,
inside windows.
towering over his wife. Like, what is that?
Wow, Biden dirty.
Like, what is that?
Damn.
That's weird.
Shane and I went to the windows.
I think there was times when he had some complications, and
And they just
brought in
add a
another guy.
stand-in?
Yeah, I think so.
One of these cameras in. Yeah, between Van Hollen and Biden, I feel like this is Ask Wednesday. My guess is that he booked this. This was booked probably a year in advance before the Dems knew he was totally brain.
Something strange just went down again. President Biden had just finished a speech. Kind of. One moment he was confidently at the podium. The next he wandered off like he'd caught sight of an invisible ice cream truck rolling across the stage. Aides scrambled behind him, half guiding, half panicking. Cue the music cranked up like a desperate attempt to smother the awkwardness. Meanwhile, somewhere in the vast echo chamber of podcast land, Joe Rogan likely choked on his adaptogenic mushroom tea, eyes wide, asking, "Did that really just happen?"
She's gonna win.
Joe Biden was the ultimate catfish.
Yeah?
We were all online being told, oh, this is a congenial centrist. Yeah, swipe right. I don't know how to do these dating apps.
Yeah.
But anyway, then you find out it's not him at all, but some guy in a bathrobe smoking meth.
Yeah.
God, how many times does that happen to me?
Meanwhile, Greg Gutfeld was probably already jotting punchlines on a crumpled napkin before the teleprompter had a chance to cool. At this point, tuning into a Biden speech feels like playing a nationwide round of Guess Who? Only the twist is figuring out whether you're watching a seasoned world leader or your slightly tipsy uncle after a few too many glasses of boxed Merlot. Did he just butcher a senator's name beyond recognition or casually coin a new one? Is he confused about his location, or has Delaware been upgraded to wherever Joe happens to be standing? Each appearance is its own unpredictable adventure. And now, America's two loudest cultural commentators, Gutfeld with his sharp wit, and Rogan with his signature disbelief, aren't just raising eyebrows. They're raising volume levels.
You have to be able to call out shit that's wrong on your side. And this is one of the problems that the Democratic Party's having right now with this Joe Biden guy. You guys got to be able to call it out. You can't let this slide because everybody else sees it, and Trump is going to eat him alive. He's going to eat that guy alive.
Joe Rogan has officially hit his limit. He's been side-eyeing presidential clarity since 2020, and now he's watching this unfold like it's the latest season of a Netflix docuseries titled How Not to Run a Country. But this isn't about Party politics. Rogan's not rocking a MAGA hat or a Biden bumper sticker. He's the guy who hunts elk with a bow, swears by ice baths, and somehow turns marathon podcasts into cultural events. He's built on curiosity, not conformity. So when Joe starts raising an eyebrow at the commander-in-chief, it's not for clout or campaign fuel. It's raw, unscripted, and deeply human. What the hell is actually going on here? And more importantly, why isn't anyone else asking?
He's without question the worst president in my lifetime, and that is the proof. Because we've talked about this. His solution for inflation is explaining what inflation is. Here's the thing about inflation. Food prices go up. And what we're going to try to do, and I think this is going to work, is maybe get the prices, you can get the prices to go down. Unless it's gas, because we don't want you to use it.
For Joe Rogan, this isn't unfamiliar ground. He's been dodging media gaslighting and tech censorship with the finesse of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, fluid, focused, and completely unafraid to roll into uncomfortable territory. Whether it's COVID controversies, military misadventures, or the latest round of economic make-believe, Rogan has consistently cut through the fog, asking the questions others treat like radioactive waste. But when it comes to President Biden, the whole thing's evolved into something stranger, a surreal, slow-motion masterclass in what the actual hell is happening. One day, Biden's leaning into the mic, whispering like he's hosting a ghost story podcast. The next, he's announcing his 2024 re-election bid with the enthusiasm of a man who just remembered he still has 2 years left on a borrowed timeshare. And Rogan's guests? They're catching on. From sharp-tongued comedians to buttoned-up scientists, there's this quiet but consistent undercurrent. Something feels off inside the West Wing. Meanwhile, over 11 million listeners are tuning in to hear Rogan tear apart sanitized narratives, decode SCOTUS decisions, and casually riff for 30 minutes straight on mushrooms, memory, and mind games. In a world where politicians sound like poorly coded AI, Rogan's raw, unscripted flow feels almost, dare we say, presidential. He's not the guy giving speeches. He's the one at the bar who should.
Yeah. I remember when I had a stutter, it was so bad it caused me to wander into the rainforest. Oh, thank you. It gets worse. So Joe only had a stutter. Yeah, and Stephen Hawking's feet were just asleep.
This is where the comedy starts to feel like prophecy. When Joe Rogan tattooed, elk hunting, podcast slang Joe Rogan sounds more coherent than the man holding the nuclear codes. We've clearly crossed the line from satire into what feels suspiciously like a live-action documentary. Just when you think the circus has peaked, President Biden delivers another now iconic whisper gas bramble performance, equal parts confusion and cue card karaoke. Greg Gutfeld didn't stand a chance. Whatever evening plans he had, canceled. Biden's latest speech practically wrote the monologue for him. At this point, the president's public appearances are like a comedy jackpot that never stops paying out if jackpots came with scripted applause, a teleprompter lifeline, and a 30-second lag between question and visible confusion. Gutfeld no longer needs to dig for punchlines. He's got an open buffet. His nightly show has morphed into a roast-a-thon where Biden is the undisputed house special. The sarcasm FLIs like shrapnel machine gun one-liners slicing through the noise like a hot knife through, well, mashed brain cells.
Biden was there too. Look at him. See, I just wonder about his skin.
That what are they pulling it back with fishing wire to keep it up on his head?
It just seems, he seems oddly stiff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it seems like everything's pulled. Like there's not I expect a certain amount of laxity in a man's face when he reaches a certain age, particularly around the forehead area.
When President Biden leans into the microphone and delivers a breathy whisper like a ghost dabbling in Asthma, Greg Gutfeld doesn't miss a beat. He just shrugs and deadpans. Hey, at least he didn't try to shake hands with the coat rack this time. At this point, every time Biden opens his mouth, Gutfeld's practically cracking his knuckles in anticipation. The gaffes aren't occasional, they're clockwork, predictable, dependable, like a sitcom rerun where the jokes write themselves. But the real show? That's the staff. Watching them scramble in real time is like witnessing Mission Impossible, reimagined by AARP. Biden points one way, his aides guide him the opposite, and somewhere offstage, an intern is silently praying. He doesn't try to explain NATO using a metaphor involving tapioca. Gutfeld once joked that Biden's strongest political strategy is banking on people forgetting he ever said anything. And let's not overlook the obsession with Amtrak. Somehow, every speech detours into train stories like Biden genuinely believes his role isn't President of the United States, but honorary conductor of the National Railway.
The worst part about this whole thing is that his presidency is ripe for mockery and ridicule and even gentle humor if you like him. I mean, just Hunter Biden alone, just in the recent stuff, I mean, you could go on forever. But Kimmel has abdicated his role of a comedian. He's now just a political hack, which I'm grateful for, because then I get the turf to myself. I'm not a comedian, but I just filled the gap. That's why I'm beating him every night, because he sat there with that guy and basically he spoon-fed him like he was a dementia patient at a...
Gutfeld doesn't just react, he dissects. He grabs hold of every awkward moment, every political blunder, and flips it like a late-night pancake. One of his sharpest jabs? That Biden bragging about 50 years in politics isn't awesome. It's a red flag. That's not experience, it's 5 decades of bureaucratic inertia with a retirement plan. And Gutfeld doesn't sugarcoat the decline we're all watching unfold in real time. He doesn't whisper. He paints it loud with sarcasm as his brush and satire as his scalpel. He's not being cruel. He's being honest, in a way that cuts through the spin like a surgeon through scar tissue. While other networks wrap Biden in bubble wrap and whisper sweet nothings into his teleprompter, Gutfeld's show crashes through like a runaway truck at a state-run parade of delusion. He's not there to soothe or sanitize. He's there for the audience that's tired of pretending. Tired of pretending the emperor's wearing clothes or remembering where he left them. His audience doesn't want lectures disguised as news. They want the raw truth dressed up in punchlines, dipped in sarcasm, and fired out of a cannon. No filters, no scripts, just brutal honesty, told with a wink, not a warning label.
Thing that he was talking about, God creating women.
No.
And then
He called his wife
they were
his sister or
created
some
by,
shit.
I forget what it was. I forget what the gaffe was. But it was one of those, we listened to him like, what are you saying? Like, it's like he has no brakes. Like,
Right.
his car is going down the hills like, geez, I hit a fucking tree.
He's like, hit the wall, fuck
There
it.
it is.
And this is where things start to get seriously intriguing. While Gutfeld is rapid-firing zingers like a caffeinated sniper with a vendetta, Joe Rogan's posted up in his Austin studio calm, collected, nodding slowly like a man watching the simulation glitch in real time. Yeah, this is insane, he mutters, and somehow it lands harder than a dozen punchlines. These two exist in entirely different ecosystems. Cable news meets long-form podcasting, stand-up sarcasm versus sit-down skepticism. And yet, despite their contrasting delivery, they keep arriving at the same unsettling conclusion: Biden is not okay. What's worse, the collective charade pretending otherwise. Rogan's the guy who wants to understand why the wheels are coming off the national bus. Gutfeld's the guy pointing out that it's already flipped, exploded, and the driver's still trying to steer it with a popsicle stick. But when you mix their approaches, you get the perfect chaos comedy cocktail. 1 part logic, 1 part lunacy, shaken over Biden's latest verbal faceplant. And that's where the punch really hits, not because they're laughing at the country, but because they're laughing with everyone who sees the absurdity and can't believe it's not satire.
There's a few of them. Just play any of them. They're all crazy. Every video of him recently talking, he's stumbling through shit. He forgets what he's talking about.
We should be making those masks. We should be moving on those ventilators. We can do that. Why doesn't he just act like a president? That's a stupid way to say it.
You know,
I guess,
Donald
but
Trump
I
was
really
asked
wish
on.
Sorry.
They're tapping into something deeper, an undercurrent of national discontent that's been simmering just beneath the surface. We're being steered by a man who feels one hot mic away from accidentally turning a NATO briefing into a bedtime story. And yet, the powers that be carry on like everything's perfectly normal. Naturally, the media can't stand it. When these same voices skewered Trump, it was hailed as bold, edgy, even heroic. But now it's suddenly reckless, disrespectful, even a threat to democracy itself. Because apparently, journalistic integrity means losing your sense of humor the moment your side's the punchline. Rogan questions Biden's capacity to lead, and instantly it's labeled misinformation. But the rot runs deeper. This isn't about one man, it's about brittle institutions, airbrushed narratives, and a media establishment spackling over every blunder like they're covering a crack in the dam with duct tape. The ruling class has sold us the illusion that competence is optional as long as the optics are polished. That's why this kind of commentary resonates. It doesn't just poke fun, it releases pressure. People aren't tuning into Rogan or Gutfeld out of rage.
Hilarious now they're all getting grilled by even like liberal media is grilling these politicians like, did you know Biden was out of his mind?
Right.
Like, how did you know?
Yeah.
Like Elizabeth Warren was like, he was sharp as a tack.
Oh.
He was getting up for meetings.
Never
like,
seen him better. I heard that too. It's like, what?
Joe Scarborough.
Yeah.
He was like, this is the best version of Biden I've ever seen.
Oh,
like,
my.
you should be literally in jail. Such a liar.
Yeah.
You almost like shifted the whole. Imagine if Biden stayed in, they lied about that, and then he's literally like a zombie for.
They're not just watching to laugh, they're watching to cope. Because deep down, they know the jokes land so well because the situation is anything but funny. When a stand-up comedian and a former MMA commentator start making more coherent points than the former leader of the free world, the punchlines stop being jokes and start sounding like warnings. And then it happens, you know the moment. Biden steps up to the podium with the energy of someone who just woke up from a nap he didn't mean to take. He peers into the crowd like he's trying to recognize a face in a dream or maybe locate his misplaced Amtrak pass. He mumbles something about the economy. Or was it education? Could have been agriculture. No one's really sure. Cut to Joe Rogan, blinking in slow motion like he's watching a UFO crash land onto a freshman logic syllabus. This can't be real, he mutters, as if Biden just declared that Pluto's now a swing state. Meanwhile, Gutfeld stares into the camera, the comedic embodiment of a Windows error message. No punchline, just a long, awkward pause. And that look, the one that says, America, we seriously need to talk.
Being Biden's physician is a tough gig. Every day it's something. He shattered his kneecap, checking his reflexes. He's got wet bones and sweaty teeth. It's like being a veterinarian. One day you're popping back in his shoulder, then you're removing worms from the burrow in his leg. Finally, you're pulling a chipmunk out of his butt.
Just when you think the show's hit rock bottom, bam, out comes a sentence so scrambled. It sounds like Biden's trying to blend NATO strategy with a soup recipe. Sanctioned chowder. Anyone? At this point, it's not a gaffe, it's a full-blown neurological improv session. And we're all the captive audience. There's no fixing it, no spinning it. Just a collective pause as we stare, wondering how the script of American leadership came to feel like a surrealist sketch. Now, for a moment, let's have some fun. Imagine Biden guest stars on the Joe Rogan Experience. The opening track kicks in, the lights glow, and Biden takes his seat squinting at the mic like it's a talking toaster from a sci-fi film. But this is where the laugh track fades into an awkward silence. Because when the nation's most grounded political commentary is coming from a podcast host who smokes DM'd with theoretical physicists and a Fox News host armed with dad jokes, it hits differently. Suddenly, the satire feels less like entertainment and more like a mirror. Biden's public stumbles aren't just awkward moments anymore. They've moved past quirky and well into the territory of unsettling. What once felt like harmless gaffes now read like bright red warning signs draped in patriotic bunting and polished over by media teams wielding excuses like a fire hose at full blast. The laughter? It lands hard. Not because it's funny, but because it's covering something we're all too afraid to say out loud. The emperor isn't just underdressed, he might be ad-libbing the entire play. So the question becomes, are we laughing to avoid panicking, Or has the panic already set in and we're just laughing to survive it? When Joe Rogan and Greg Gutfeld start sounding like the most reasonable adults in the room, it's no longer satire. It's stand-up as a national coping mechanism.